What's going on, people? Welcome back to Premzy TV. It's Premier League Unpacked, episode 18. We've got my guy in the cut, Bish. How you doing, my bro? You good?
We're back again. Premier League Unpacked. We're back. Yeah, man. I'm good. Feels good to be back. It was an exciting weekend of results.
Most definitely, man.
Got a lot to talk about. Positive for me and you. That's why we turned up smiling as usual. We
Do you
tried
know
to
what?
get
I think
go
there's a
on.
few standout results as well in it, and I think there's no other place to just dive straight into Manchester United, bro. Because
Yeah.
forget all the waiting around, forget all the messing around. These men are in the mud, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's time that we can actually sit back and have a laugh at this because when we've been in the mud,
Yeah.
Arsenal, every other team, these man, the fan base, kill man off. Obviously, it's still early in the season, anything can happen, but right now, as it stands, bro,
It's not looking great.
fucking hell, man, it's not looking great at all. What's your standpoint on Man United at the moment?
I mean, I don't want to be a buzzkill to the let's shit on United party, but I'm starting to get into that realm of like actually having a little bit of sympathy for United fans now. The situation over there is bad. Like I was joking at the start of the season, like, oh, United, they might get relegated, they might this, they might that, but actually now we're getting to a situation where I seen Jamie O'Hara on Talksport the other day, literally saying United could get relegated this season. Now, I think it's a bit, people getting a little bit carried away maybe with that one, but absolutely United could finish bottom half of the table. And I think, obviously Ten Hag hasn't come in and been some like miracle cure that United fans every season they get through to summer and no matter how bad things have been, they've always got some reason why they're suddenly going to come good again. We've got Ronaldo. We've got Ten Hag. We just bought Pogba. Like, there's always some reason why they're suddenly going to be way better this season. And again, obviously, it hasn't panned out like that. But yeah, I am just starting to feel a little bit sorry for him. Only because I was listening to Gary Neville talking about it the other day, and obviously he's pretty depressed about the situation, as you can imagine. But when he was breaking down like what the owners have done, like financially to the club, like the way that they've spent up all of the cash reserves, the way that they like leveraged United's own money to buy the club in the first place. I mean, it's some gangster stuff really when you deep what they've done. They bought the club without spending a penny. They've spent United's money every season. They've never put a penny of their own money into the club. And that's another thing that I think people get twisted sometimes with some of these owners. People say like, oh, how can you complain? No, the Glazers have spent X amount of million or billion in the last however many years. No, every season they've just been spending money that United have been producing through revenue or cash reserves that United already had. I think I heard Gary say that they had like £400 million cash reserves like 5-6 years ago. That's down to like 20 million now. The stadium's in like full on disrepair, like getting close to the point where it would be like condemned. The training ground is some old outdated training ground. So we've joked in the past about United getting left in a Leeds situation or Oldham. Was it Oldham?
Do you
Was it
think it's that
Bury?
deep?
I just think that they're a big club that make a lot of money, but they also cost a lot of money to run. And if you have bad ownership long enough and money gets blown long enough and the owners run your club into the ground deep enough, then when you've got that much money required to keep the operation going, shit can get bad real quick. Do you know what I mean? Because all it would take is for, like you say, a 10th place, 12th place, 14th place finish. God forbid if United got relegated and then all of a sudden you've got £1 billion project to fix the stadium, you've got X amount to fix the training ground, you've got owners that don't want to spend a penny and have ran down all the reserves that the club had. It's a scary situation over there for United fans. So it is fun. It's fun to laugh at United, but I do fluctuate between that and actually starting to feel a little bit sorry for them because I think they're in a boat now that even as City fans or Arsenal fans, we ain't really experienced in terms of the mismanagement of the club. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest with you, I think with Arsenal, I think we have experienced a lot of fuckeries at the club. I think with City, since the money's come in, they've had quite a bit of a good structure in place and right from the top, they've all been on the same page. I think with Arsenal, it's only now that stuff is starting to align where before we felt it as well. And I think with United as well, we were touching on their owners just then as well. There's potential talks of a takeover at Man United. what's his name, Sir Jim Ratcliffe or something like that, some billionaire. And it's talking about the Glazers are actually valuing United around 5 to 6 billion, where in actual fact it should be anywhere between 2 to 3. So that looks like that might be a stumbling block for new owners to potentially take over United, that valuation. And are they really the kind of owners that are going to sell up if they're not going to get the money? Like you said before, they've just been sucking dough out of the club, innit? So they're all about money. They're not asked about getting shit or protest, because United fans have been protesting for a long time now, really, when you deep the situation, green and gold and all of that. And there's not really been much move. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that there's a possibility of United getting taken over, or do you reckon that that's just all talk and hearsay?
I think, like you say, one of the problems is that for the Glazers, United is a cash cow. Do you know what I mean? United is an asset, and American investors and an American kind of like venture capitalists and businessmen do this a lot more than what we're used to seeing in the UK or abroad. But it's quite a common thing in America that you get, you know, wealthy business people or wealthy kind of conglomerates that like buy a business and basically just suck it dry and run it into the ground and sink it, but they don't care that they've sunk it, because in the meantime them personally have pulled out however much a year in dividends and whatever, and then they don't really care at the end what it's worth, because they leveraged the business's own money against it in the first place, if that makes sense. It's not like the Glazers have got their own money tied up in United, like, shit, I paid $4 billion for this, I need to get the $4 billion back. They leveraged United's value against itself in the first place. So for them, even if United got ran down to zero, if they've been able to cash, you know, milk that cow all the way until they're you know, even richer off the back of it, then I don't know if they have the same incentive to sell than, say, an owner who's bought a club for cash, and now the value of the club is dropping, where it's like, right, I need to sell it before my asset drops too far. So that's problem one. I think the other problem that United have, and it's the same kind of problem that like the New York Knicks have, or any of these kind of like sports teams that become like bigger than sport, they become like a tourist attraction, is that even when you spoke about the green and gold protests and United fans trying to protest outside the ground and not go to games, the hard thing for United fans is, even if all of the diehard United fans said, right, we're not going to go to a home game all season, I guarantee you there are tourists and there are, you know, like just half-assed United fans with money that aren't really interested in any of this, that are going to turn up every week and buy them tickets. You know, before City got money, we used to joke about, we go to Old Trafford for the derby and half of the fans would be Chinese people and Arab people with their cameras facing the opposite way from the pitch, just taking pictures at the stadium, because it was such a tourist attraction. And that was like semi a joke, but semi a reality. So that's a hard thing for United fans, because it means they don't have that much leverage, because the United fans can't really come together and say, right, we're just going to boycott the games and it's going to look like a mess on TV because the ground's going to be empty, and that's going to keep they can't really leverage that power, because it's going to probably sell out every week or close to sell out every week anyway, just tourists that want to come to see the game. So I think both of those things give big problems for United fans trying to force a sale. And it also means that the Glazers don't really have to sell. I don't think they're never around. So it's not like they're having to deal with it day to day. It's not like someone's going to run up on them while they're walking through the city centre. They're not even in the same country. So for them, unless it gets to a point where financially they feel like they have to, or unless there's a change in I think in rules and regulations, unless the Premier League stepped in and says, look, this is, you know, mismanagement, and kind of, and this is the funny thing, is that if you look at what happened with Chelsea, right? So Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea because of politics outside of football. But as far as the club goes, he was running that club and that business very responsibly. He was, you know, always pumping money into the club. He built that brand and that footballing business from where it was when he came in to a totally different scale of business than what Chelsea is today. They invested money in the community. They invested money in the training grounds, etc. Now, he had the club taken away from him, or was forced to sell because of political reasons. I'm not going to argue whether or not those reasons are right, but it shows that the Premier League does have power if it's backed by the right kind of conversation to try and impose them kind of like forced sale of clubs if they believe the owners aren't in the right place to own clubs. So then you look at the Glazers, who, okay, they're not politically enemies to the UK because they're Americans and it's all pally. But in terms of what they're doing with the club, anyone can see it's negligent mismanagement. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can see that club is being
But
ran into the
do you know what
ground.
it is though as well? I can see it as well, but there's been situations like we've talked off Nottingham Forest, there's been clubs like Bury and all them kind of clubs, Bolton and stuff. But the situation with Manchester United is the owners ain't really criminals in the sense of they ain't active in like war and stuff like that in it. So I think
Yeah.
with the Chelsea thing, it is a little bit of a different situation. I think United's hope is for somebody to just come in and buy them. I think the stumbling block, like I touched on, will be the price. I think the Glazers are greedy bastards. They've been greedy from the moment they've got in there. And I can't really see them let that go for between 2 to 3 billion when that's the real worth of the club. And especially where they are right now. They haven't won anything significant for a number of years now, United. And to be fair, a lot of the fans now are starting to understand and see that there's a massive rebuild to go on there.
Yeah.
Because
who wants to buy that and spend all that money?
Yo, you know what though? There will be another, maybe an Arab or somebody who's got filthy amount of money, bro. Because look at Newcastle owners, bro.
Yeah.
If they had the opportunity to buy a Man United, 9 out of 10, they probably would have went in and got them. It's not like they couldn't afford him. It's chum change to them. So there is opportunities for United to get brought. I just think someone's gonna have to pay over the odds, really be a true supporter, pay over the odds, get them out of this hole that they're in and then reinvest because it is a big building job there. And I think with Ten Hag as well, and I wanted to ask you with Ten Hag, his job looks under jeopardy already. Like, and this is down to the club not employing the right people to take the season forward, in my sense, that I think. But he looks like he's under pressure. He looks like a man that's under pressure right now. Where'd you stand on Ten Hag?
Under pressure. I think we spoke a little bit last week about the obvious issues that come with not having a sporting director or a director of football. Because what United's basically done for the last 10 years since Fergie left is they've stuck with the Fergie model, which was when Fergie was here. Fergie did everything, do you know what I mean? He managed the team, but he also picked the players. He was, saying what players he wanted bringing in, etc. In modern football, that doesn't work. If you want to have a 10, 15 year, 20 year plan, because every manager isn't Sir Alex Ferguson, you have to have people in the club that are going to be there, even if the manager needs changing out, that can oversee a longer term project. I know we joke sometimes about Edu and Arsenal and the process and the project, and it's, sometimes it feels like a bit of a piss take, but the reality is, if you bring, you bring Van Gaal in, and Van Gaal just gets to choose what players he wants, and then he goes and Mourinho comes in and don't want any of them players and gets to choose what players he wants, and you go through that cycle over and over again, all that happens is you end up with this mishmash team of players that don't really fit together. Ten Hag, I do think he underestimated the situation. I think also there's been some dubious decisions that have come seemingly from Ten Hag since he's been in there. I don't know what he was thinking trying to sign an Arnautovic. I'm hearing from rumours and reports inside the club that was a signing that Ten Hag was trying to push through, which is problematic on a lot of levels because one, Arnautovic just isn't good enough, so I don't know why he would want to buy Arnautovic. But also, Arnautovic is a player that's had like 2 or 3, been found guilty on 2 or 3 occasions of like racial abuse of other players. Like,
bloody hell, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been fined multiple times for racial incidents. So this is also like, okay, is Ten Hag tone deaf? Is he out of touch with, what's appropriate and what kind of players United should be going for? So I'd be worried if I'm a United fan, because not only does he look tactically out of his depth, I thought Brentford on the first day, I thought Brighton tactically outdid them. United thought they were going to sit back. Brighton went with a high press. United didn't have an answer for it. I thought Brentford again tactically outdid United. They tried to play a certain system, playing out from the back, using Eriksen to bring the ball out from the back. Brentford were onto it. United didn't have an answer. So not only is Ten Hag looking suspicious in the tactical decisions he's making, but he's not got enough quality there. There's still, feelings in the dressing room. There's still Ronaldo there causing kind of stories and feelings around the club. And on top of that, he's involved in the transfer policy and he doesn't seem to have a good idea of who to buy. So if I'm a United fan, I'm not resting any hopes on Ten Hag right now. I'd be worried about the whole situation.
No, I hear that. Let's unpack it a little bit more, the Brentford game, yeah? Now, they lost 4-0. Now, they've lost 4-0 quite a few times. going to the back end of last season and coming into this season as well. Nah, it isn't it. Look, I'm not even trying to laugh at them. I'm just I'm just trying to state what's going on now.
Yep.
Obviously, it is still early in the season, innit? Now there is
Yep.
opportunity to fuck up early in the season and recover from it. Look, we
Yep.
got battered first 3 games of the season. Yeah, obviously we got beat 5-0 by Man City. Man, getting beat 5-0 by Man City is totally different. Getting beat 4-0 by Brentford. You know what I mean? Now, with the game against Brentford, I could just see they didn't look like there was no drive. They didn't look like there was no will. They didn't look like there was no running in them. And even from that game, I believe Ten Hag told his man to come back to training, yeah, and do the extra miles. I think it was like 13 miles extra or something that Brentford must have run more than him. And he made him put the legwork in, which shows that he has got something about him because he's not taking it. You get me? You can clearly see that these men are shit, and he's going to try to do something. With the Arnautovic and some of the other signings that you're touching on, obviously I agree with you, bro. I don't think he would have been a good signing for United. But on the other hand, when he brought, what's my man from West Ham called? What's his name now?
I know who you're talking about. It's
Haller.
Yeah.
Sebastian Haller. When he brought Haller, yeah, obviously you can't compare
washed.
that league to the Premier League, but he did look washed. He brought him into a system, and sometimes players do fit into that system. So maybe you got to give the guy a few windows to get his players in and see what he can rustle up together before we knock him. But he just looks like he's under mad amount of pressure already, because the one thing is with United, and this is how it should be, if you keep losing games, the manager's in question. But I feel like it's a lot bigger than that, though. I don't feel like the board have actually helped this guy in the window. And even with the decisions of Martinez, the small centre-back, like, I'm pretty glad we didn't get him now, to be honest. You get me?
Dodged the bullet.
Dodged the bullet, bro.
You looking at Saliba now, or you're looking at Martinez? Who are you taking? You're taking Saliba any day of the week.
Yeah, any day.
Cheese.
But I feel like with him, he messed up a little bit as well, because I feel like he threw him a bit in the deep end and just threw him straight in centre-back, where he can play as a left-back. And realistically, Luke Shaw ain't all that. He could have put him as left-back, and then chopped it up a little bit, brought Lindelof back into the defence with Maguire or Varane. We got Varane sitting on the bench, and then eased him in a bit. But I think he underestimated the Premier League a little bit as well, you know.
United is a graveyard, bro. Imagine Varane has gone there as a Champions League winner. Guy was World Cup winner. Guy was talked about as like one of the centre-backs in the world. Within like a season or so of being at United, bro, man, his name's got under slander. Like, he can't even get into the first team at the start of the season. Like, that is a graveyard, and that's why they've had a bad transfer window. It might not be because the board's not backing him. It might be because there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that's even half decent that wants to go to United right now. United are going to have to find a way to work themselves into a position with the bullshit that they've got, where they can build the confidence up, the seller's confidence, or whatever you want to call it, the player confidence in players outside of the club that want to come to that club. I've been saying this since the back end of last season, and United fans were like, nah, we're still United. We can still go out. If we want a player, we're going to get him. Nah, bro. There's a lot of players that are looking at United now, and their advisors will be telling them, you are seriously risking your whole career going down the drain at that club.
So I think Ten Hag's gonna get tested as well with the Ronaldo situation, because he's got to make a call on this now, because the guy's in the club and obviously he's rattling the dressing room, and there's no chance of him getting any kind of progression at that club if he hasn't got control of the dressing room. And he's got to make a big call. At the end of the day, Ronaldo's 38 years old. I understand he brings goals. I understand he brings shirt sales. He brings it all. But the way United are right now, they can't even afford to have a Ronaldo in their team. In my sense, they need to really strip down that team to bare bones and bring in good quality Premier League proven players that are at the top of the game now, that will be willing to go to United and build a core there to then push on. Because at the start of the season, I was saying to Kish, if you remember on the chat as well, I was saying to him, bro, I feel like United are just going to have a very bad season this season, because they haven't added to the quality. They hadn't added to the team at all. And other teams around them have added quality, like Arsenal, like Spurs, Chelsea have added Sterling, Koulibaly, a few other players. Like City have added. Liverpool, obviously, they've lost Mane. We'll touch on Liverpool in a moment. But they've lost Mane, but they've still added Nunes and recruited players. Now United were 11 points behind Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they've got to bridge that gap and then compete.
No,
So
that's not happening this season. They
you know
need to let
what,
go of that one.
Marcel brings up a massive point here. Yeah, Ragnick told everyone that they need about 10 players, and to be honest with you, I agreed. I said to Kish as well. I said, look, right, you need to just get about 10 players. It is not as easy as that. You get me? It does take a few windows, but you can bring in 6 players in a window. We've seen it before. Arsenal have done it before.
Yeah, but I think we're underestimating. I'll say this and then we'll get off it because I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are about how United will fare next weekend against Liverpool, as you just mentioned. But I just think that maybe we're underestimating. I don't know if we've ever seen a situation like this before in terms of players trying to decide whether to go to a club. I don't know whether there's ever been somewhere that's as stay away as United is right
Toxic.
now. Even when Arsenal was shit, even when City was shit, even when teams have been shit, players have maybe said, well, it's shit over there, but I'll go over there. There's still, it's different when you're looking at a club where you're saying, yo, world-class players are going there and ruining their career. That's a different type of prospect that I don't know if we've ever seen before in the Premier League. So, like you said, toxic. And it'd be interesting to see how they fare next week against Liverpool. Because if you lost 4-0 against Brentford and you conceded 4 against Brighton, you'd be inclined to say that it's going to be 15-0 against Liverpool. But Liverpool themselves haven't looked too great, have they, Premsy?
Do you know what? Let's look at Liverpool. Let's go into let's look at the results. To be fair, they had a surprising result as well, yeah. Because I'd be honest with you, I thought it'd be. I didn't think they'll walk over Crystal Palace, but I thought it was a game that they'll very much win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
not got Liverpool on there, have we?
It's not come up. It's not on there.
Because it was the late game. What was the final score again? It was
1-1. It was 1-1. It was 1-1. But you know what? Yeah, I think they've had a massive blow with Mane, bro. I think they've had a massive blow with him, and I think what he brought to that team, not just his goals, but his pace, his tracking back, his linking up with all the other players, everybody else there already knowing him. I feel like obviously with what's his name, the new left winger they got. Luis, yeah, that's the fella. I think he's still got to settle in the league. He's still got to get to know the players. He looks good though. He does look good, but he's not at the level of Mane. He's not at the level of Mane, and I feel like they are missing him. Also, they have got a few injuries as well, but it looks like City, man. It looks like 2 games in a row, 3 points, 6 points now on the board. And it looks like, I don't think Liverpool have a chance, really. Kish said to me as well, he goes, you know what, at the start of the season, I think these men are going to be dead. And I said, you know what, I don't think they will. I think they'll be all right. They'll manage to stay up there, keep the challenge with City. But they have fallen off a little bit.
I think one of the things with Liverpool, I think you're right with everything you've said there. I think the other thing for me with Liverpool is I think Liverpool, I almost feel like that squad and that team hasn't evolved in the last few years. They just, about 4 or 5 years ago, they hit this level with pretty much the same 11, 12, 13 players. And they just continued to maintain that level with pretty much the same players. There was the odd 1 or 2 coming in or going out, but largely speaking, it was the same 11, 12 players that won the Prem, that had won the Champions League, that had consistently competed with City every year. They were playing this high intensity, overload football, and it's the same kind of the same conversation we had that year when they had all them injuries to Van Dijk and everyone, and they didn't have a centre back and they dropped off, and Liverpool fans were using that as an excuse. And a lot of other fans, especially City fans, were saying, hey, wait a second, you've been playing this rock and roll football where you play the same pretty much players every game. They're giving 160%. It's high intensity. It's highly volatile football. And then when all them players get injured, you suddenly acting like it's bad luck. No, that's a product of the style of football you play and the fact that you don't really have that much rotation in the Liverpool team compared to, say, the City team. And I think a little bit this season, we're also probably starting to see like nothing in life can burn that bright for that long without you refueling and restoring and evolving. And I don't think there's been enough of that going on at Liverpool. Yes, Mane's gone. They've brought in Nunes, but the players they brought in weren't as good as the players that have left. And there's not been enough players coming in or enough new ideas coming in. You look at City over the last few years, even as we've been maintaining that level, there's been players leaving, new players coming in, new kind of systems starting to be introduced. Okay, we went from having Aguero up there to then kind of having the false nine to then kind of working towards having a bit more of a striker again. Like there's been a system shift over time. There's been an evolution of the philosophy. At Liverpool, I feel like they've been doing one thing for a long time really well, and at some point that has to burn out, and I think this is the season where we're seeing that. I think Liverpool's defense, for a long time, their style of football and the way that they dominate games has protected that defense. I think Alexander-Arnold, we're seeing now just how bad of a defender he is. He's quality going forwards, but this guy on his bad day is bad. You know what I mean? He's not in the conversation with Walker. He's not like defensively. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I feel like as well with City and Liverpool? Obviously, you've got to assess them a little bit differently because the money that gets pumped into City, and I'm not saying all City spend millions and millions and millions because they do, but what I'm saying is they can in it. City can spend that money if they want to, and they can refuel, they can rebuild. Liverpool spend money to a certain extent. Like they'll pump all their money into one player like Nunes, but then you won't really see a lot of other players coming in, and I think that's just down to financially as well. So
that's
with the levels right now, I just don't think they have the squad depth to compete with the City this season anyway, because there was a few players out of the team, but majority of their players were there. I think Thiago might have been missing, Keita from the start. They had a centre back out as well.
Canute, is it Canute?
Canate. So they've got a few players missing. So obviously, like I said, it's very early to judge the season. Just like Noah's saying there, it is early to judge the season. But the signs from when you was watching Liverpool last season and where they were looking frightening to now looking at them and as another team on the outside being optimistic, thinking, you know what, we could deal with Liverpool this season, or we could go there, get a point, or get a victory. I don't think that same fear factor's there at Liverpool as it was over the last couple of years, to be honest with you. Well, I don't know how you see it. I think they're losing that fear factor.
I think the guys in the comments are right. Obviously, as a City fan, I like to just apply the extra pressure that, to feel like things are falling apart. Obviously, it's early days. Obviously, this is still Klopp. This is still Liverpool. This is still Salah. This is still Van Dijk. This is still Alexander-Arnold for all that I'm cursing him out. These are good players, and a good squad. I just think for me, because I already had a bit of just a feeling that something could change this season for Liverpool. And it wasn't just me. You know what I mean? Like you said, Kish had said it to you. I'd heard some of the pundits at the start of the year say, there's just that outside hope that they might drop off a little bit this season. Everyone just had a bit of that feeling, and no one could quite put the finger on it, other than maybe Mane going and people underestimating who Mane was. But so I think because we were already thinking that, and because the season started badly, that makes you more inclined to think, okay, maybe there's something a bit deeper wrong here. And then the quality behind them has improved. Arsenal looked good. We'll get on to Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Tottenham looked good, looked okay against Chelsea. Didn't look as good as they did in the first game. Chelsea looked probably better against Tottenham. Yeah, and actually, I was going to say, and we can start spilling over into that chat in a minute. But I was going to say, I actually think that Liverpool. I could see Liverpool dropping to third, which is no disgrace for City or Liverpool to drop to third. It seems insane, but it isn't a disgrace. You know what I mean? Especially for Liverpool, losing a player as good as Mane is almost like going into a rebuild. That's what you have to think about when if City lost De Bruyne, you almost have to accept the season after that you're going into a rebuild because them players are that good, and Mane's in that category. And I don't know if it's if there's a little bit of a bit of racism or prejudice that we have, towards African players and black players that prevent people from really putting Mane in that top. I know man hold him in high regard, but he's always held that category below your Salahs, your De Bruynes. I think we're going to get to see a little bit this season who Mane really was just from him not being there anymore. And I think I could see Liverpool dropping to third. And I actually think of them remaining three teams right now, if I had to put my money on someone to go second, Brother, I'd put my money on Arsenal. I don't want to
Hey,
gas the
don't
thing
get me
up too much.
excited. Don't get me excited, fam. You
They're
know what
playing
it is with
exciting
us?
football,
We
high
are, but we
energy.
still got to keep ourselves on the ground, bro, because with
Nah,
Arsenal,
fuck that.
there's one thing we know is that we do tend to let shit slip like last season. Obviously, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of optimism with me as well, bro, because I feel like we've recruited very well. Yeah. I feel like we've recruited very well, but there's still missing pieces in the jigsaw. Just like
Yeah,
I was saying, I was on Gooner Lee's show as well. People, if you haven't seen it,
yeah.
check it out. I did a show on Gooner Lee's channel
Big
yesterday.
up Guno in the comments as well.
Listen, yeah, there's still pieces missing, bro. The midfield for me and another striking option because at the moment, Pepe's still in the team, so he can cover on the right. You could put Martinelli on the right. You could put Smith Rowe on the left if you need to. You know what I mean? We need a different option up front. We're a Jesus injury away from disaster. Obviously, I'm going to give Eddie a lot of support and, back him all the way. But having one striker in that position is just not going to be good enough for the Premier League, Europa League, all the cup competitions. For me, we need a different option. Also, if Partey or Xhaka gets injured, we need a solid midfielder in there as well. Fabio Vieira's come in to potentially, duel with Odegaard for that 10 role as well as maybe Smith
Yeah,
Rowe. So that gives us an option there. We've not seen him
yeah,
play yet. He might be shit. He might be good. Hopefully, it's the latter. You get me, fam?
yeah,
But we definitely need two players. There's been times, season after season, yeah, that we've always needed them two players, or we're two players away. How many times, Bishop, has said to you, we're two players away. Now we're getting our act together. Let's just get it done. You get me? Let's just get it done.
yeah.
Answer this question here from Goonally.
Do I think
Question.
Saka can be a new version of Mane? I think Saka could reach them kind of levels. I think that's not guaranteed because Mane is not only a top level player, but he's a top level player that did it at the top level and won things at the top level and carried his team when they needed to at the top level. I don't see them actually being as similar players as maybe other people do. I think that Mane for me is a bit more of an traditionally, I would have said Mane has more of the traditional striker in him and Saka has more of the traditional winger in him. I know that they both play as modern day wingers and can do a bit of both, but Mane, I think, is more of a natural out and out goal scorer. Saka, I think, can score goals, but he also has that kind of traditional winger quality of being able to create, being able to beat men, being able to cause chaos and confusion in a slightly different way to what Mane does. Again, obviously we're splitting hairs now, but I do think that maybe it wouldn't be the perfect comparison for the two of them for me. But I think in terms of if is he the new version of Mane? Could he get to that kind of level? I think Saka has all of the qualities to be a player that is one of the best in the league and is winning trophies and winning big games pretty much on his own, and that's what Mane did for Liverpool. So kind of yes, kind of no. That was my answer. What about
Do you know what? I
yourself?
thought you unpacked it pretty well there, to be fair. I agreed with pretty much everything that you said. I thought it was a good breakdown. I feel like with what you said with the different type of players, yeah.
Yeah,
With if he can go onto the same heights as Mane, I think very much so he can go onto the same heights as Mane. And with him being an Englishman, he'll only get a lot more praise, as we just stated a little bit earlier on.
yeah, yeah,
And to be honest, there is a good player in him. There's only 2 games in the season. He hasn't been at his best, but he's had a lot of weight on his shoulders over the last couple of
yeah,
seasons. It's about time there's other players that come into the team
yeah.
and take some responsibility off the kid. You get me? But yeah, man, I think moving on to Chelsea and Tottenham, that was a game that I thought Tottenham were lucky in. I thought the
Yeah.
goal that Højbjerg scored, I thought shouldn't have stood. I felt like Richarlison was in the way. And it was offside as well at the same time. You get me? I thought that was a bit shady. But look, Tottenham never get no decisions put against them, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at this.
I thought that the question for City fan. Let me jump to that in a second. Let me just give you on the 2 goals whether I thought there was goals or not. I think the second one was what was the second decision? Because the second decision was a big decision. The second decision was a penalty, innit? No.
No, I don't think it was.
Who
It was
scored the second goal?
Harry Kane from a corner, got the knock in and the equaliser. The ball came in from a corner and he got the equaliser from the set
I'm
piece.
sure there was another decision in the game that they analysed.
Yeah,
afterwards.
it was basically what it was is in the build up to the first game, into build up to the first goal, Havertz got fouled. So
yeah, so the
Havertz
Havertz foul probably was a foul, but I could see it not being given because he did get a touch on the ball. I thought that the Richarlison one, he was in an offside position.
The hair pull.
And he was in an offside. Oh yeah, the hair pull. So the hair pull. So for me, the second one shouldn't have been a goal. That was a blatant hair pull. I think that was a foul. Should have been given as such and probably should have been a red.
Yeah.
I think the first one for me, I was touch and go. Yes, he was in an offside position, and yes, he was technically obstructing the keeper's view. But I also think that, you know, all the analysts were trying to show how Mendy kind of shifted his weight to try and look round Richarlison and see where the ball was. But I think as a goalkeeper, there's a lot of times when shots are coming in from that range where things are going to obstruct your vision. And, you know, as a goalkeeper, generally speaking, they have to be able to try and decide whether they're going to sacrifice their standing position to try and get a last peek of where the ball is, or whether they're going to just go off. I can see where the ball's coming from. I can see who it is that's striking it. I know roughly where it is. I'm going to wait for it to come past the players and then move. I know that sounds... Obviously, I'm not a Premier League goalkeeper, but I think that was also a bit of a mistake on Mendy's part. I think he was a bit too eager to keep his eye on the ball. I think maybe an Edison, an Alisson, a Buffon, a Casillas, you know, might have not sacrificed their standing leg at that moment when the shot was coming in. Because had Richarlison been onside, then that would have just been a mistake by the goalkeeper to leave yourself wrong-footed in order to try and get a peek at the ball at that moment would have been a mistake. So the fact that Richarlison was you know, a yard off, I don't know. I just had mixed feelings about that. It probably should have been suspended.
That happened to me. I'd be pissed off. I'm not going to lie, bro.
I had mixed feelings, but it probably should have been.
I think it should have, because if you actually look at it now, where Richarlison is standing, regardless if he is or he isn't, the bottom line, he is offside, innit? You get me? In that instant of play, he's offside, and he is in the way. You get me? Like, he's in the way, man. And I'm not just saying it because it's Tottenham, but the one I'm going to give Tottenham some praise, because Tottenham of last season or a few seasons ago would have lost that game because Chelsea came and Chelsea played well as well. I don't think Chelsea were dead, and I think Tottenham rid the storm. They got the equaliser and they took a point away from Stamford Bridge, where they historically struggle, to be honest with you. So you got to give them some praise for that. Do you want to answer that question then, Bish?
Has your window been a good one? Because you got that left back, the only piece you were missing. Who was it that we? Was it Gomez or something? What's the name of the left back? Has it gone through that?
You City signed a left back. I don't even know.
Let me know in the comments who it is that we've signed, if something's gone through, because I've not been on my phone today, so I don't know. I think I knew he was in for a guy called Gomez. I think that's what the question's saying. Noah, let me know in the comments to confirm what you're saying. But I think he's saying, has it been a good one? If we've got that left back, is it like a kind of a complete window? Like we got everything we needed. Gomez. Okay. I think it would have been a good window even without getting Gomez in at left back. I think that it's, you know, it probably was, you're probably right. It was the one area where you would say we've lost players and not necessarily strengthened, or at least added with backup. But I believe that City have got a lot of good players in that youth system that probably could fill a gap in such a good team if needed. Do you know what I mean? And it is a bit of a shame sometimes when every single position has 2-3 backup star players, because then when does a youth team player ever break through? Or maybe the flip side of that is people say you have to be of that Foden quality or you're not breaking into the City team. You know, there's no point in City letting players get a game or two that aren't at that level. But you do feel like, you know, if there's the odd player in the youth team or in the reserves that's come from the youth team that might be good enough, you know, to step up to that level at left back, say for example, then not having 2-3 players in every position leaves a bit more space for some of them players to come through. So I had a bit mixed feelings. I kind of thought maybe not having an extra left back, we might have been able to, you know, give a bit of space for some other players to come through. But it is obviously a good signing. I don't know much about him, but I've heard he's solid, like defensively solid, which I think is important for us at left back. We need someone who we can put on that's going to give us the Kyle Walker effect of what he gives us at right back, that we can just feel like, right, this guy's come on to defend. I think it's been a good window regardless. I think Haaland was a big signing.
Do you think though with City, do you think this season that they're going to go into the Champions League and they're going to go to win that competition first? Do you reckon that's going to be their priority this season? Because obviously there's been a lot of emphasis put on City spending bare money for a number of years now, being in the Champions League for a number of years and obviously not winning it. Do you reckon that's going to be a big pressure for City and the fans and the manager and everyone around the club?
I think it's always a pressure. I think it is hard when increasingly everyone involved in the club and outside of the club starts to get this tunnel vision on the Champions League, because it makes it hard to appreciate all the other success and achievements that are happening along the way and around it. Do you know what I mean? So you end up in this situation where City could win the league, FA Cup and League Cup this season and not win the Champions League, and there would be a feeling that it's been a bit of a failure, which obviously in some ways is ridiculous, but in some ways it's reality. I think the Liverpool fans in the chat would probably be able to tell me better, because they've experienced it, what it takes to get to the final one year and come back the next season and win it. I think that, you know, Liverpool did that. I can't think of other clubs off the top of my head that have done that. I'm sure Chelsea and United probably did it back in that run when they were kind of going back and forth. But I imagine that that's a hard thing to do. Even if your squad was good enough to win it both years, I think to come back after such a long campaign last year and to come back and do it again, there's so much luck that can just throw you out of a Champions League run. You know, it only takes 5 minutes, as we've seen with Real Madrid, and the whole campaign's over. So I'd like to say this year, get through to I know we didn't get to the final, we got to the semis, but we were within, you know, a whisker of getting there. So I'd like to say that I think we could do it. I think if, as the season progresses, we find that City have stepped up another level and other clubs across Europe haven't, then maybe City will do that thing like Barcelona did years ago, where it was like, it was undeniable. No one was going to stop them. They were just so much better than everyone that it wasn't ever left to luck or chance or a bad decision. It was just, they were just dominating their way through to the final. That's the only way that I could feel confident that City could do it. Because otherwise, as Marcel says, it's a DNA thing. It's like a voodoo, juju. Like, you got to get round some almost non-footballing stuff to get there. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what though? I think all of that as well. I think realistically, bro, the bottom line of it is City should have won it last season. I would say, innit? Like, that's just the truth of the matter. If I was a City fan, I would personally I'd be throwing all my eggs in that basket. Obviously, he won the Premier League 4 out of 5 seasons. I wouldn't be saying, oh, I don't want to win the Prem. Obviously, that's a priority as well. But the Champions League, especially when you've come so close, like you've said before, arch enemies at the moment is Liverpool. Dave came close, couldn't do it. And you could take a leaf out their book. But at what stage does the City fans start looking at it thinking, right, okay, it is a necessity. We have to now win it. At what stage is that? Because you got to understand, City are that kind of super club at the moment. Now, when you're a super club in the sense of you're winning all your domestic cups, you got to get it. Do you know what I mean?
Arsenal didn't. And then and then you got to wait again for however many years until you get back there. No, you're right. I'm desperate to get it. Let me not confuse it. I'm desperate to win it. This year, more than any other year, I would take Champions League, probably over most of the stuff. But that being said, bro, the Prem is so competitive now, and there's so much bragging rights in our league that I know it sounds like I'm lying, but honestly, like, still winning the Premier League feels like first and foremost, like, let's win the Prem again. Do you know what I mean? Let's be the best in England, which for me now is the best league in Europe by a stretch. Do you know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for the players as well, you got to understand at what stage is the players going to be. Players want to win the Champions League, innit?
Yeah.
Players also want to win the Champions League. And this is what I'm saying as well. Like City, look, Bernardo Silva, there's talks of him wanting to leave, talks of players wanting to leave. And to be honest, do you not think it'd be sad seeing these players not winning the Champions League at City when they've offered so much to the club?
bruv, you've got to understand that fucking.
Because it kills me, man. Like, we didn't win
Bruv,
that Champions League that year,
with Henry,
2006, bro.
bruv,
Yeah.
Fernandinho missed out, last year Fernandinho missed out? The year that we lost to Chelsea in the final was the last year that Aguero could have won a Champions League. Like, we've already experienced players who deserve to win one not winning one. Aguero should have won a Champions League medal with City. That
Most
was us. We fucked him. Do you know what I mean? We fucked him in that regard. But at this point, I think, as a few guys have said in the comments, it probably is a matter of when rather than if. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that as well.
And I think it'll probably either be this season, or if not this season, probably next season. And
I think you will definitely win it within 3 years. I think you will definitely win it within 3 years, 100%. Like, when you're knocking on the door and you're knocking on the door consistently, is the only time that door gets opened. You know what I'm saying? So I presume that you will. Go on, bro.
Can I ask you a question before we go on to fantasy football? Or
I want to touch on
Arsenal?
that question there as well.
Which one? Go on.
Aubameyang to Chelsea.
Run with that one first.
Because to be honest, bro, I'm very old school. Me, once a player plays for my team and he goes to a rival club, bro, that ain't good news for me. You get me? I'm not about that. You get me? But I can understand the situation why he might be looking at it and thinking, right, I can go there and get one over Arteta because their relationship didn't end great. But he shouldn't be looking at it like that, because he should look at the fans and the relationship he developed with the Arsenal fans and how much they loved him. And do you know what I mean? And the willingness to let him go as well, in the sense of giving him no stick and giving him well wishes. So I think he needs to wait up, you get me? Because he comes back, he's going to be in London. A lot of Arsenal fans ain't going to be happy with that.
Is there any club in the UK that he could go to where you wouldn't feel like that? If Aubameyang went to Liverpool, okay, in Liverpool you would feel the same way, or is it Chelsea because they're a London club? Is it because it's the London rivalry? Okay,
yeah, and Chelsea, man, they just know how to chat shit, man. I swear to God, man, Chelsea fans can just chat bare shit, yeah.
And you could see him coming back and scoring the goal that puts Chelsea above Arsenal at the end of the season. You could see
they're a rival of ours, aren't they? You know what I mean? He's going to a direct rival, innit? We ain't rivals with Liverpool right about now, innit? Like, that's well, at the moment we're above him. I can't see us being rivals with Liverpool by the end of the season. If we are, then big up to Mikel Arteta anyway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what's your standpoint on it? What do you think of Aubameyang to Chelsea?
I think it makes sense for Chelsea. I think I don't want to see it happen because I'm more invested in Arsenal's season than Chelsea's season. And I think Aubameyang coming back and going to Chelsea, I think it could throw off the focus a little bit of the Arsenal group. I think what Arsenal don't need right now is a story or a conversation that kind of throws things up in the air a little bit. But that being said, bro, you've got Gabriel Jesus up front, which right now, Jesus at this point in his career, Aubameyang can't touch him. Today's Aubameyang. Aubameyang back in the day maybe, but today's Aubameyang, you can't clean Jesus' boots right now. Jesus is on a different level, so I think even if Aubameyang comes in, I just can't see him doing what Jesus is going to do this season. And because of that, I feel like even as Arsenal fans, even if you were pissed at first, when you get to the end of the season, if Jesus has got 20 goals or 23 goals, you're not going to be losing sleep over whatever 14, 15 goals Aubameyang gets at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what it is with Aubameyang as well? Because he's such a, sorry to cut you, just because he's a likable guy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not an arsehole. So it's very hard to not like him, you know what I'm saying? Because the bond we built with him, bro, it was unbelievable, man.
And the bit of slack you've got to cut him. The little bit of slack you got to cut him is look at Barcelona. It's a mess over there at Barcelona with all of the shit that's going on with them money-wise. And Chelsea might be the only one out of these top clubs that's in for him. So if that is the situation, at a certain point, it might be like, look, I didn't really want to leave Arsenal. I got forced out the door.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to come back and go to one of your rivals, but I kind of had my hand forced because Barcelona is a problem. Chelsea's the only kind of suitor that I've got, in which case you kind of got to give him a bit of slack just as a professional that needs to go somewhere for wherever's best for his putting food on his table. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tricky one, but I think it would be a decent signing for Chelsea. I don't think it's going to shake the whole league up. It would be a good addition for him, but I don't think it's going to drastically change how things end.
Just want to move on to one surprising result, and that's Nottingham Forest beating West Ham 1-0. Obviously, I wanted to touch on that. I feel like West Ham, to be fair, they were quite unlucky in the game. They missed the penalty. Dean Henderson, United keeper, look at David De Gea. I told everyone at the start of this season, De Gea is a pile of shit. Like, they need to improve on him now. He was a great keeper once in the sense of shot stopping, but he's never been a commanding keeper. He's never been a keeper that you can look at and think, right, this guy's going to command his box 100%. You know what I mean? They let Dean Henderson go. I thought he had a very, very good season at Sheffield United when they first came in, and there was a good amount of optimism around him as a player with United. He got promised first team football, didn't get his. De Gea came in, and then that's it. He was on the bench, shown ambition, wanting to leave. And to be fair, he played very well. Did you catch any of that game at all, or any of the highlights?
I just saw the highlights, and I read a little bit about it after the game. I think I'm probably gonna make a mess of his name, but Awoniyi. I know why.
I don't even know his name. So I know what you talk about.
He seems to be coming good already for them, and I think if I'm West Ham, I'm not reading too deeply into it. Same way, if I'm a Forest fan, I wouldn't get too excited. I think that new team coming up, especially Forest coming up with all of the kind of especially with Forest, Forest being the big club they once were and coming up and being back in the Prem for the first time in however long. I think that win was waiting to come against someone. They didn't get it against Newcastle in the first week. We talk about teams that have come up and how hard it is to play them in week one. I think that kind of lasts for the first few weeks. If they don't get that win first week, a lot of time that same hunger is there to get it the second week, and sometimes that can just force the issue. They did look good. They played good football, but I haven't seen enough yet to suddenly start thinking that they're going to stay up or they're going to be safe or,
it's just more surprising from West Ham's standpoint for me, because I thought West Ham were really going to drive forward this season. And these teams, and these teams like Nottingham Forest, which they really should be beating. Nottingham Forest have brought in 15 players, so they've got to integrate them into the team as well. You get me? It doesn't just hit the ground running. But I'm surprised by West Ham, because I thought these might have an outside chance of finishing top fifth, like in the top five and stuff like that. But obviously, Usyk and Anthony Joshua fighting. There was a question in here before. They want to get our thoughts. I think it's Adil from India. Let me just go back up there.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere up there. While you're having a look, was you going to ask what my thoughts are on the fight?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on the fight.
Who I'm rooting for, or who I think will win?
Just basically both, if you want.
Yeah, I'm rooting for AJ. I like AJ. I think a lot of us in the UK, once we were back on the Tyson Fury bandwagon, it almost became like fuck AJ for some reason, and I just don't really understand why. I think a lot of people don't believe the humble. They think it's an act, and they think he's, and that makes people almost dislike him more than someone like Tyson Fury, who's just openly braggadocious with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And obviously the Tyson Fury story, there's a tongue twister for you. The Tyson Fury story is obviously a beautiful one in terms of him coming back and finding his way back up to the top. But I think that Anthony Joshua's story is still being told, and I think if he beats Usyk, wins them belts back, gets himself back in a position to put himself in a place for an undisputed fight and to get all them belts, he still can take his career to a point where we look back and we say, you know what, people had to have fucked up for a minute. Like, he went on to get his belts back, he went on to beat a Wilder or beat a Fury and become undisputed, and at that point I think a lot of the doubt wouldn't look, so a lot of the takes that people had today wouldn't look so great 5-10 years down the line. Do you know what I mean? I think there was Anthony Joshua is a good fighter. Do you know what I mean? I think he just that loss that he had against Ruiz, is that if I said his name right? Was it Ruiz? I think even though he went on to win the return fight and win his belts back, I think that loss kind of lived in his memory a bit longer than that next fight, and probably carried on into that Usyk fight. And it was like, as a boxer, sometimes we've seen it, innit? Once they lose one fight, it's like they know there's a chink in their armor, and they lose that unbeatable, undefeatable kind of aura. And they got to fight through it sometimes to get back. But heavyweight fighting, that's what it used to be. Floyd got everyone confused and thought that being a great boxer was about being unbeaten. You look back to Ali's time and Tyson's time and that. All of these greats got beat. That was just part of the heavyweight.
Do you know division. What? Yeah, I think, obviously, I'll just give you my thoughts on it as well. Right? I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan. Obviously, I'm a fan of AJ as well. I haven't got no hate towards AJ or no malice or anything like that. I think I'd love to see both of them fight. If they was to fight, I'd obviously be backing Tyson because I'm just a big fan of him. But I also support Anthony Joshua. I think he's quite humble, and I think that he's represented the sport in a very good way. And when he's come to the sport, he's brought big time boxing back, and you got to give him his fair dues for that. Now he's fighting a fighter Usyk, who's an absolutely unbelievable boxer, a technician, somebody who's very technical, and there's not that many that can live up to him. One of the best pound for pound boxers in the world. Now, when Anthony Joshua fought Usyk, for me, I feel like he went in with the wrong game plan, and he tried to match him toe for toe, which you can't really be doing that against a man of Usyk's quality that's been doing that for years and years and years, and you've only had one previous fight to this, the Andy Ruiz comeback, where you was on your toes a little bit. You get me?
Yeah.
So I think he went in with the wrong game plan. I think he knows that himself, and that's why he corrected his team and he's brought new people on board and stuff. I think he seems very composed and he seems very focused, but so does Usyk. Usyk has a lot to fight for. He's fighting for his country. He's fighting for recognition. He's fighting for his family, his people, everybody. There's a lot on the line for Usyk at the moment. So when a lion's hungry, a lion normally eats, you know what I'm saying? Now, I think there's two outcomes that could kind of happen. I think Usyk will get steamrolled over because Anthony Joshua might come in with a game plan that he should have come in the first place, being the bigger man, and used his advantage and tried to get him out there early rather than standing toe-to-toe with him. Or is going to go to points and Usyk's going to beat him on points. But it wouldn't surprise me as well if Usyk gets a stoppage against Anthony Joshua because he's got that chink in his armor as well. So that's how I kind of break it down. But I'm rooting for Anthony Joshua. I want him to win. I want him to bring the belts back, and I want him and Tyson Fury to have it. You get me? I want to see that fight. I think the British public need that fight.
We deserve it, definitely.
Definitely deserve it. But we'll take it back to football. Come on, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're running up to an hour. We do want to touch on the fantasy league, fantasy Premier League that we've got going on. If you haven't already joined our fantasy Premier League Unpacked Fantasy Football League, the code is running along the bottom of your ticker right now. There will be a prize for a winner at the end of the season.
It's all in the description as well. So if you just want to come back to it, or if you're watching it later as well, you'll find it. Yeah, man.
We were hoping today to get one of you guys from the comments on to give us your thoughts. We'll have a look at how we're doing for time at the end of the episode. We might have ran it a bit late today, but that is something that we're wanting to introduce. So, drop a message in the chat from now if that's something that you think you'd be interested in jumping on and giving us your thoughts. But something else that I wanted to bring in this week, experiment with Premzy is it's a bit of a football kind of brain tease or a football what if. So I got a question for you. You can try and answer it now. If you need a bit more time to think, you can let me know next week. If anyone's got any thoughts in the comments, let me know. So the question is, if you had to swap one player from one club with another player in the same position, so like for like, you got to swap Arsenal's left winger for Chelsea's left winger or whatever, but you've got to try and do it where after the swap, both teams are better.
Ooh.
Take some time.
I just take Deadwood out of me and kick him out.
No. The aim is I'm going to swap this guy for this guy, and with him going over there, they're going to be better, and with him coming over here, they're going to be better. So it's a straight swap.
I'll just do a quick one right now that I think would work. I think Neves from Wolves and Xhaka.
Good one. That's a really good one. I do think that Neves would probably do. Yeah, I like it. Let us know in the comments, man, if you guys have got one.
So I'm gonna bring up I'm gonna bring up the top 4 people. Listen, we started the fantasy football league, and I absolutely fucked it. Yeah, I put in some players. I thought, this is gonna do, and then the day before, I thought, no, you know what? Let me change some players. Changed it. Did all right first week, second week. Nunes fucked me sideways. You get me? Got sent off and all of that, and then now I decided to use my free hit and just change the whole squad because I'm thinking if you change it early and you make the mistakes early, like United and Liverpool, it's probably better to rectify them early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the top 4 of the
Premier League
Premier
Unpacked.
League Unpacked.
Yeah.
There we go.
I was top of the league after week 1, but I had a bit of a stinker week 2, to be honest with you. I put all of my faith in Haaland as captain, and he didn't really return it. Shout outs to my bro, who's had a fucking killer of a game week 2. He's taking the top of the league now. And Andy's held down second place. Yeah,
Aaron's
man.
in 4th as well, Panda FC. So we got the top 4 there for you people. And let me tell you now, I'm nowhere near. I'm about 11th. Yeah, absolutely gutted. But don't worry, it's still early. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You get me, people? So hopefully I could come and live up to Tom and his brother. Really, they know something I don't. Tell me, Tom. Talk to me.
You know what? I think there's a few decisions early on that done me good. Even though one thing I've learned from week 1 that was a mistake going into week 2 is trying not to be too like reactionary. Like, oh, this happened this week, so now I'm gonna play that player next week. Like, so for me, for example, week 1 I had Jesus as captain instead of Haaland because I was like, I think Jesus is gonna hit the ground running. Haaland bagged a few. Jesus didn't score, so I got gassed week 2. Put Haaland as my captain, use my triple captain, which you only get to use once in the season. You get triple points. Haaland didn't do anything, so I got triple 5 points or something. Jesus scored 2 and got an assist or something. So if I'd had Jesus as my captain with the triple captain, I would have had 60 points from him alone. So I think the thing I'm learning is like try not to be too like
hasty.
Yeah, like this is what happened last week, so this is what I'm going to do next week. Try and go back to like what's that intuitive feeling you've got about who's going to be doing well generally at the moment or this season. You know what I mean?
I just stick to it. But here's one, Adil. Fred for Casado.
Yeah. Where's Caicedo again? Is that Brighton? No.
Yeah. I think so.
Do you think Brighton would be better with Fred though? I don't know about that. I think United would be better with Caicedo, but I'm not sure that Brighton would be better with Fred.
What about Pepe and Trossard? I think that's a good swap.
That's a good one.
Good swap.
That's a good one.
Booker.
Do you think Pepe would do well at Brighton? Maybe because maybe in a team like Brighton he would have that bit more freedom, and they do play quite expansive football. Yeah, I could see that working. I like that.
Trust me, I think that Trossard's a top player, and even that Podence as well. He's a top player as well from Wolves. You get me? True. I'll take him into the team as well. That Eze's looking like a bright spark. That Pascal Gross is looking decent as well. Like there's a few players out there that are playing for. Even Ward-Prowse, man, the guy gets goals and bad boy at set pieces. I don't think there's many people that are better than him at set pieces in the league at all. You know what I'm saying?
What about?
He's only 26 or something mad as well.
What about Hudson-Odoi for Martial? I could see Martial going somewhere like Chelsea and finding a bit of form. And I think Hudson-Odoi looks like a good player that's just rotting at Chelsea and would probably do well somewhere else.
He's actually being linked to Arsenal, Hudson-Odoi. He's actually being linked. I've seen reports going around saying he's being linked.
That. Young, got a point to prove. I like that kind of signing for Arsenal right now. It's not too much pressure. No one's got too much expectation, but he's got a lot to prove.
Give Saka a run for his money as well.
Yo, that's a good move, that.
You know what I mean?
I like it.
Got a player there to push Saka forward as well, because we can. If we got rid of Pepe, we have got opportunity for other players to come in.
Would you take Pepe for Hudson-Odoi as a swap? I know you spent a lot of money on Pepe, but he's fucking probably worth peanuts at this point. Would you take that as a straight swap if Chelsea could take Pepe and you got Hudson-Odoi?
No, I don't think I'd take it as a straight
rather
swap.
Sell him.
I'd rather sell him. I'd rather get in.
What do you reckon you'd get if you sold him today? How much do you reckon you get selling Pepe today? 15 mil?
Probably about 20, 25 mil.
And how much did you spend on him?
Pushing it 30 mil.
Was it 70? God.
75 mil, but it doesn't matter, innit? Like, people make bad mistakes. And look at yous, man. Yous make mistakes all the time. But just get rid of him like it's nothing. But yous can't afford to, so it doesn't look that bad. When we can't afford to, it makes it all look bad.
We haven't done for a few years, to be fair. In the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't had many of them. But we had a little run of like Jack Rodwells and man like that were getting signed for 50.
Even like Joe Hart, bro, straight away come in and got the chop straight away. He was a big keeper for
he didn't get the chop. He
Didn't
didn't
you
get
get
the
the
chop straight
chop,
away.
Joe Hart, when
No,
Pep come in?
we got Joe Hart from flipping Shrewsbury Town for like next to nothing, and we had him for like nearly 10 years before Pep came. So he
I don't.
wasn't like a.
I thought that was shady what happened to him. That's what I'm saying.
I
I'm just
I
putting it out
did,
there. I
but
liked
that
Joe Hart, me.
I love Joe Hart as well,
I
mate.
met
He
him,
was a
didn't I?
I did as well. Decent guy,
That's why I
decent
liked
geezer,
it. I swear
decent
down.
geezer,
Big lad as well, man.
big lad. You got to be a big. Well, you don't have to be a big lad to be a good keeper, but it
Yeah,
don't
what
seem to
about
be.
this? Gallagher for St. Maximin. Gallagher from Chelsea. Obviously, they do play a bit
That is
different kind of positions, a little bit in a sense.
That's true.
But
We're getting into like swapping guys from different positions a little bit now, but I think Newcastle probably do better out of that trade. Maybe I think St. Maximin, he seems to be losing a bit of his momentum now. I don't know if it's that he's a bit of a one-trick pony, or if it's that his final product is starting to impact on how effective he can be. But I don't know. I don't know how
I
great
like
St.
him.
Maximum. I do, but I just don't know
think
how
he's
much
good,
he would
man.
add to Chelsea. I don't think he adds on. I don't think he
Yo,
builds on
do you see
Sterling.
Koulibaly's goal, bro? Yo, fam, I'm telling you, that volley was bad boy, innit?
He looks good then. I think Chelsea, to bring it back to Chelsea, I think Chelsea are probably the ones that we all underestimated a little bit. We all got a bit carried away and was like, oh, Chelsea, they're going to drop out the top four. And it's like, right, Tuchel won the Champions League with these guys just a year or two ago. Chelsea have really been Chelsea for years, and like they know what they're doing and they've been around it. And I think we all got a little bit caught up in the Conte hype train and just assumed that Tottenham were going to do it.
Do you know what it is as well? I think it's more with the Abramovich fallout and him leaving the club, and then obviously this Bowie coming in and trying to sign players and couldn't get them, and then they had players that were out of contracts and just up in the air, and they look like there's quite a bit of a rebuild. But to be fair, I think Sterling's a smart signing for them, man.
Yeah, and
Sterling's a smart signing.
They got rid of the players they needed to get rid of, and they bought in the players they need to bring in. Do you know what I mean? Getting rid of Werner and bringing Sterling in is a good.
I still think they need a striker. Definitely need a striker, 100%. And I think I could see them actually getting Aubameyang. I could see that happening.
I think that maybe I'm tripping, but I think Chelsea should be going for Tony. You know,
Ivan Toney.
I think Tony would be bad at Chelsea.
How much do you reckon he's worth? Because I was having this conversation.
I don't know.
I don't think he's worth 50 mil. I think he's worth about 30 mil.
I just don't understand what. Maybe people want one more season of seeing him do it at Brentford, which is fair enough. Let's see. But I think that a lot of clubs,
good player, man,
if Ivan Toney goes mental again this year for Brentford, and then one of the top teams in the league buys him, I think there'll be a lot of clubs like Arsenal that'll think we should have gambled on him when we could. Do you know what I mean? Because if City swoop in and take him at the end of the year or somebody, and then Arsenal can't get him, and he has another great season, he just looks top quality to me, man.
I like him.
But that pass, bro.
I like him. He's that pass. He's that different option that we need. Believe that he's that different option that we need. And I'm telling you, he's strong, he's purposeful, and he's a good player, though. But people, it's been an hour and nearly 10 minutes now. We've gone through all the topics. We appreciate everybody tuning in, week out for the show. And if you're new, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and we'll comment back to everybody as well. And Bish, big up. End of the stream now. We'll be on to the next one soon. You got any words for the man?
I didn't get your results predictions. Quickly for next week. I'll run through the games. You quickly give me your predictions. So we've got Tottenham versus Wolves.
Oh, where is that at? Tottenham Stadium.
At Tottenham.
You know what? I'm gonna say draw.
I'll go Tottenham to win. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa.
And it's Palace at home.
Yeah.
Say Palace to win
that. I'll go Palace to win that as well. Everton at home versus Nottingham Forest.
Everton at home. I think they'll draw that game as well.
I'm going Everton win on that one. Fulham at home, Brentford away. Brentford.
I think Brentford will they've got the tails between their legs. Well, tails up at the moment.
Yeah, same. I'll go Brentford. Leicester, Southampton.
I think Leicester have to bounce back. I think Leicester will win that game.
I think I could see. I might go Southampton on that one. I could see things getting bad for Leicester. And then we got Arsenal away at Bournemouth.
But we'll win that game.
Me too. And then Leeds, Chelsea. Leeds at home, Chelsea away.
Chelsea would do them.
Yeah, I think so. West Ham, Brighton, Hove Albion at West Ham's ground.
I'm going to go for Brighton win at the moment. I don't think West Ham are playing to the same levels that they were last season.
I'm going to go a draw in that one, I think. City away at St. James's Park against Newcastle.
Newcastle and I'm joking, City. I think City. It's going to be a tough game, but I think City will win.
I think so. I think City will win by probably a 1-goal margin in that one. I like it. Man, them in the chat as well, giving them their thoughts. Last of all, United at home against Liverpool.
See, this is a game, where United can actually redeem themselves because they beat Liverpool. They're above Liverpool. It's still early, you get me? Yeah. I think these men have to put their heart and soul into this game to win it. And I think Liverpool ain't in the best position either, to be honest. If you're going to put your house on it, you're going to say Liverpool in it. But personally, I think it'll be a draw, I think United have to get something out of this game to try to live with it. Obviously, you can lose the first 3 games of the season like we did last season and bounce back. But I just think with it being Liverpool and getting battered 4-0, like you just did, they have to kind of do something.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a draw in that one as well. And next week we will, I know we said a few weeks back when we did the predictions that we will get them, we'll get them. That's not a bad shout, to be honest with you. We'll try and get them up on the ticker next week or up on a picture so we can look through and see how we did on the predictions. Big up everyone in the chat. Appreciate you for sticking with us. Premsy.
Yeah, peace and love, people. I'm ready to get high. I'm ready on my nanny, ready to get my zungy down me. And you know what I'm saying, people. But peace and love. I will see you next week. Make sure you tune in, same time, people. Appreciate